Hi, this is Skye with Scrap with Skye, and I'm here to show you my latest project tutorial. It's called Leftovers to Layouts. So with Leftovers to Layouts, what we're going to be doing is taking the leftover pieces, your scraps, from your project playbook projects. So this one is going to be using the Birthday Jubilee collection. So this is the project playout. If you purchase the the Birthday Jubilee bundle, it comes with the project playbook. If you don't buy the bundle, you can purchase the playbook separately. But for this project series, we're going to assume that you have purchased the bundle and created the layouts that are in the project playbook. For Birthday Jubilee, there's 3 one-page layouts and 1 two-page layout. It's going to vary from product collection to product collection, but that means that you've got a lot of pieces left over, and I want to make the most of my scraps. So I thought it would be fun to create a few pages using those leftovers. Let's first talk about what exactly you do have left over. So I'm going to switch to my desktop screen. There we go. All right. So what you should have left is 2 pieces of this Fast to Fab paper. It's got the presents on one side, and on the back side, it's a blue watercolor wash. You should have the multicolor balloons. The back side of that is this really pretty light blue kind of, it's got little stars on it. The other piece you should have a whole sheet left of is the dark blue stripe, and the back side of that is the candles. You should have an orange watercolor wash. The back side of that is the streamers. And then the last whole sheet you should have left is the light blue watercolor wash. And on the back side is the daisies. Those are your whole pieces. Your scraps should look something like this. You should have a piece of dark blue stripe. Yours may be a little bit different size. I did not cut out the birthday cake punches with this. So if you did, you'll have probably a piece that's about half this wide and then a larger piece that would be good for mats. You should have a 10 by 12 piece of the the cupcakes or orange dot on the back side. A nice piece of this plaid with the kind of dark orange bursts on the back. 2 12-inch strips. One is about 1 3/4. One is about 2 inches wide. This is the orange and the light blue. A nice orange piece. Again, yours might be a little bit smaller if you did the punches. It's orange dot on one side and cupcakes on the other. You may not have this piece if you did the punches. And this piece again may be smaller if you did the punches, but it's a 4x4. And then this balloon and starburst and another piece of this. And then a fairly good sized piece of light blue cardstock. It looks like it's about just under 10 inches wide. So there's some nice big pieces to do some things with as well. And there'll be a variety of smaller pieces. This is an example of my scraps. I kind of sorted them into 2 piles, ones that I might be able to do something with. These pieces could possibly make some borders or do some strips. There's a nice half circle left, which I think will be really fun to use that on a page with the larger bit that goes on the outside. And then a couple of pieces. These, you may be able to use as an element on your page, perhaps as a base for some embellishments, or use them to punch some things out. And then these are much smaller pieces, little bits of scraps. I'm not sure how useful these will be, but they are big enough to punch something out of. So I did keep them just in case. So those are about what your scraps should look like. I want to talk a little bit about using these cutting guides. Everybody might approach this in slightly different ways. It's always a great idea to follow the cutting guide exactly, especially if you're just learning and using the cutting guides for the first time. They work really great. Super important to read these little notes on the side here. If there's a line that says tip, this is usually going to be giving you a instruction about how to orient your paper to make sure that it's going the right direction if your paper is directional. One habit I have gotten into is that I always check my papers to see if they are directional, and that means the side that I'm looking at that is shown here. This blue designer paper is a really great example. This blue stripe, the stripe is directional, so depending on if you have it going horizontally or if you flip it 90 degrees, it goes the other way from left to right or right to left, that diagonal stripe. But the back side of that paper has birthday candles on it. And so depending on what you might be using the paper for, if you need the reverse side of it, you want to make sure that it's oriented correctly. So the best way to do that is make sure you read the notes, and then I always double check to make sure it's right. So for example, this piece right here, you are using the reverse side. And so I will go and look at the finished layout and make sure that I have the paper going the right direction. And sometimes I'll even cut from the reverse side to make sure that I have things going the right way. So that's just a tip. I can't emphasize it enough. Double check and make sure you have things oriented the correct way. I'll also say that paper number 6, this is a tricky cut. So I would practice on a scrap piece of paper first to make sure that you understand how to do it and that you've done a practice time. It's cutting a frame, and then with that leftover piece that's in the middle, you're using the jumbo circle of the custom cutting system, and it is exactly the right size. So if you have not done a lot of cutting with the custom cutting system, I highly, highly recommend that you practice once or twice on a junk piece of paper to make sure that you're comfortable doing this, because you don't want to waste a really good piece of your pretty, pretty paper learning that new skill. So that's a recommendation I would make on that. Another one, paper number 8, is also directional. So you want to be sure and look at that. All right. Other tips I would give you with these cutting guides. I like to make the most of my scraps and to make sure that my scrap pieces are as big as they can possibly be, because the bigger they are, the more useful they are. So I'm going to look specifically at designer paper number 2, these cuts on here. You'll notice that this strip along this side is a scrap, and then there's two, the way that it's shown is there's 2 bits here that are scrap. Well, I personally am going to cut this so that I get a big piece here. So these 2 pieces are 2 by 8. If I cut these off the way it's instructed, I'm going to have 2 pieces that are 4 by 2, 2 by 4, excuse me. But if I make this cut here, the horizontal cut first, rather than the vertical cut first, I'm going to get one piece that's 4 by 4, and a 4 by 4 is a great size to mat a photo. So the way that I would cut this one in particular is I would start from here. I would make this vertical cut. I would make this vertical cut. I'd skip this vertical cut, and then I would make this one. I'd set this piece aside, it's a scrap, and then I would turn this piece 90 degrees, cut it off there, and then make this vertical cut and set my scrap piece aside. I hope that makes sense. I would do the same thing with this orange dot. When I cut this, I made this cut and then I turned this piece. So what was left was three, seven, trying to do scrapbooker math. But anyway, I made this first cut, the second cut, and then I turned this whole piece 90 degrees and I cut it here. I made this as my second cut. And then I cut this down to size and I was able to get these three small pieces out of this section here. So then I had this whole bit left as my scrap piece. So I'm just always looking at ways to maximize my scraps and take a look at things. This comes with practice. The more you do these cutting guides, the more you realize where you can make changes. But having said that, always make sure that you're looking at the orientation of the papers. On this one, it didn't matter because there was nothing on the reverse. So this was just a symmetrical paper. So it didn't matter which way things were going. So I could cut these the long way off of this little section, even though they're being cut horizontal. I ended up cutting them vertically, but it didn't matter for the patterns. Okay, so those are some tips with the cutting guide to get started. You're going to also have quite a number of your embellishments left. So we've got quite a bit of the, what are we calling this? This is, oh my gosh, I've lost my, oh, I will think of it. So this is the pack that has like the bonus embellishments and mat cards on it. And then there's the mat cards. We've still got quite a bit of the mat cards, quite a few of the mat cards left. We've got half of these really awesome layered borders. So I definitely am going to make use of those. The Project Playbook didn't call for the use of a lot of stickers. So you've got a lot of stickers left on here too. You've got all of your border stickers, most of your phrases, and most of the icons as well. So we've got tons of stickers left. These are the embellishments that are left, the die cut embellishments. So we can definitely have a lot of fun with those. Make some great pages.